In this video, we'll tell you about a strange habit we experienced firsthand. We'll show you why a simple misunderstanding almost cost us our entry into India, and take you along from our Air India flight straight into the crazy traffic of New Delhi. Then we'll dive into New Delhi's biggest highlights. And if you stay until the end, we'll reveal what Western tourists are never really prepared for. Hi, Travelheads. This is a scene you're probably going to experience a lot if you ever travel to New Delhi. But let me quickly show you how we ended up here. We are at the airport in Amsterdam, waiting for our Air India flight to New Delhi. The price for this flight was only 390 euros or $450 one way. During boarding, we already noticed that typical Indian touch. With Air India, it feels like you're already there. The first problem appeared before we even took off. One of the entertainment systems didn't work because the remote was hanging halfway out of its holder and it was already partly broken. The takeoff itself was very smooth. However, shortly after reaching cruising altitude, the entire entertainment system on the aircraft went down and had to be restarted. On the plus side, the food was very good. The flight itself was completely turbulence-free, and the view out of the window was incredibly atmospheric. After one more brief entertainment system crash and a small breakfast, we began our descent. On the flight itself, you still have to fill out an arrival card. I'll show it to you here with some example information. After filling it out, we landed smoothly in New Delhi. Once you arrive, you have to go through the passport control. And this is where we had a pretty big misunderstanding. When filling out the e-visa application, there is a field called Expected Date of Arrival. But after submitting the application, this date seems to become the latest possible date of entry. And because of that, the officer at the passport control told us that we were very lucky. Just a few hours of flight delay, and we would no longer have been allowed to enter the country. After the first little shock, we made our way to the Uber stand. Just follow the signs that say app-based taxi. I'll link a full video with the exact route in the description. And of course, you can also find it on our channel. Right next to the Uber stand is the queue for the vehicles. And from here, you're ready to go. In our opinion, this is the best way to get from the airport to the city. On the way to the city center, we get our first glimpse of the real India. The ride to the city center takes around 60 minutes, and you can expect costs of around $9.50. Our hotel for New Delhi was the Radisson Blue Marina Hotel, right at the Connaught Place. Since we had heard a lot of horror stories about India, we decided to go for a more upscale hotel. For us, it was important to have real privacy after a long day in New Delhi. The room was very comfortably air-conditioned and quiet. Outside, there was also the option to sit on a terrace, but because of the location, it was a bit too noisy there. And a great thing is, you can decide to order room service instead of going out for dinner. If you feel like it, you can also just sit back and let yourself be entertained by Indian game shows. After getting ourselves ready, we took an Uber to the Red Fort in Old Delhi and fought our way through the unbelievable traffic of New Delhi. The honking never really stops, and sometimes the only way to get through the traffic is to just go for it. At first, we weren't sure whether we should really visit the Red Fort. But as soon as we reached the entrance, we were already overwhelmed by the massive red sandstone walls. The Red Fort stands close to the Yamuna River, near some of Old Delhi's most famous places like Chandni Chowk, Jama Masjid, and the crowded streets of the Old City. From above, you can see the size of the Red Fort complex. Behind these red walls were royal palaces, gardens, and audience halls. And our visit begins at the main entrance on the western side, the Lahori Gate. This gate once faced the road towards Lahore, one of the great cities of the Mughal world. You can buy tickets directly at the ticket counter or online. For foreign visitors, it currently costs around 600 rupees, which is roughly $6. For Indian visitors, the ticket is 50 rupees, and children under 15 can enter for free. By the way, you can also find another detailed video about the Red Fort with a lot more background information on our channel. I'll link it for you in the description. Also keep in mind before you visit that the Red Fort is closed every Monday. Even the walk towards the entrance was already really impressive. These massive red sandstone walls, combined with temperatures that were almost unbearable, made it very easy to imagine what this place must have felt like many years ago. The entrance area can get quite busy, especially later in the day. Before entering the fort, you pass a security check, so it's better to travel light and avoid bringing large bags. As we walk through the entrance tunnel, the space suddenly feels narrower and more controlled. Two small towers frame the way forward, a powerful transition from the crowded outside world into the guarded heart of the Red Fort. This is the massive Lahori Gate, the main entrance of the Red Fort, and once the gateway into the imperial world of the Mughal emperors. After entering through the Lahori Gate, visitors pass through Chata Chowk, a covered market area. In Mughal times, this was also known as Meena Bazaar, a place where luxury goods could be sold to the imperial household and elite visitors. After passing through the entrance passage, the space opens up again. One of the most important political spaces in the Red Fort is right behind the museum. This is the Diwan-e-Am, the Hall of Public Audience. Here the emperor met the public and handled official matters. The hall has a long facade with 9 arches, and at the back you can still see the area where the royal throne once stood under a marble canopy. Knowing what happened here in the past makes the whole experience of walking through it even more impressive. By the way, if you enjoy our videos or find them helpful, please support us with a free subscription or book a tour with our link in the description. There is no extra costs for you, but we earn a small commission. Thank you. We are now in the so-called life-giving garden. Here you find the Zafar Mahal and the Sawan and Badan pavilions. They are named after 2 rainy months in the Hindu calendar. This is the Badan Pavilion, named after one of the monsoon months when the Red Fort's gardens and water channels were meant to feel cool, fresh, and alive. In the middle of the tank stands the Zafar Mahal. The tank itself belonged to the older garden design, but the pavilion was added around 1842 by Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal emperor. The Sawan Pavilion represents the early monsoon season, while the Badan Pavilion stands for the later rains. Together, they're framing the Red Fort's garden as a place of cooling water, shade, and seasonal beauty. So is the Red Fort worth visiting? Clearly, yes, but with the right expectations. If you come here expecting a fully preserved palace, like in a movie, you may be disappointed. Many rooms are empty, some areas are restricted, and a lot of the original decoration is gone. But if you understand what this place once was, the Red Fort becomes much more than a sightseeing stop. Today, on every Independence Day, India's Prime Minister raises the national flag at the Red Fort to address the nation. So the fort is still a stage of power, just in a completely different India. The Red Fort was truly impressive, but now we are on our way to a shopping center. Locals had recommended it to us because, apparently, there is also a pretty good restaurant here for breakfast or lunch. The select CityWalk shopping center is perfect for you if you are in New Delhi and urgently need to do some shopping. The mall is really big, and you can basically find all the brands here that you already know. The restaurant that had been recommended to us was simply called Paul. It had a bit of a French vibe, and visually it felt very pleasant and clean. The service was friendly, And there was a good selection of burgers, sandwiches, wraps, as well as salads, pasta, and pizza. We went for a sandwich and scrambled eggs, and it was really good. Next, we wanted to visit the famous Humayun's tomb, but on the way there, we came across a football match from the Indian Women's League. There was no entrance fee, so we decided to stop and watch the spectacle for a while. It was really nice to see how much passion the Indian women brought to the game and how happy they were when their team won. After the match, we finally made our way to Humayun's tomb. And while you can hear and see the vibrant life of New Delhi, it suddenly becomes much quieter, greener, and way more relaxed as soon as you pass through the entrance. And by the way, a video with more background information about Humayun's tomb can be found on our channel, and of course, I will link it in the description. The entrance fee for tourists is 600 rupees, which is about $6 or euros depending on the exchange rate. For Indians, it costs around 40 rupees. Before we even reach Humayun's tomb, there is a smaller monument on the right. Most visitors walk straight past it, but this place is actually older than Humayun's tomb. This is Isa Khan's tomb. It's not just another tomb, but one of the earliest monuments of its kind in the area. So let's take a look inside. There are several cenotaphs, that means stone grave markers, but most of them are uninscribed. So while this was clearly built for Isa Khan, it probably also became a family mausoleum. So after we found the perfect place to start and see the older language of Delhi's tomb architecture, we wanted to see the bigger tomb in this complex. Passing through the gate reminds me very much of the entrance to the Taj Mahal. Humayun's tomb was the first major dynastic garden tomb on the Indian subcontinent and is considered a precursor to the Taj Mahal. The Taj Mahal did not appear out of nowhere. Many of its ideas were tested here first. While we walk up the stairs, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And if you would like to support us and want to book tours to India, feel free to take a look at the description and book with our links. There is no extra costs to you, but we earn a small commission. Thank you. Once you reach the top, the view is even more impressive. By the way, if you're visiting as European or American tourists, be prepared to take a few photos with Indian tourists. But don't worry, the people here are very friendly. But more on this topic later. Humayun's tomb is not just a tomb for Humayun. It is also known as the dormitory of the Mughals, because more than 150 members of the Mughal family are buried in the cells of the complex. I have to say, this place is definitely one of my top recommendations if you're planning to visit New Delhi. For the entire complex, you should plan around 1 hour. You have to leave the site by 6:30 p.m. And like many other sites in New Delhi, it is closed on Mondays. And while we're talking about Mondays, the next day was a Monday. And we thought we would just grab an Uber and visit the Akshardham temple. On the way there, we saw many beautiful wall paintings along the highway. But when we arrived, we unfortunately realized that this site is also closed on Mondays. Still, even from a distance, we found the view of the temple very impressive. There wasn't much more for us to do here, so we got back into another Uber and made our way to the India Gate, one of India's most important monuments. We were a bit confused about how you were actually supposed to cross the road here, and, well, we tried it this way. I know, that was not very smart. Shortly afterwards, we discovered the underpass. So you better choose this way. At first glance, it looks a bit like Delhi's version of the Arc de Triomphe. But behind this gate lies a much more complex story about colonial power, war, independence, and national remembrance. India Gate is one of India's most important national symbols. A war memorial, a photo spot, an evening meeting point, a parade axis, and a politically and historically significant place, all in one. On the arch, you can see the word India in large letters. Next to it are the Roman numerals for 1914 and 1919. Below the name India is the dedication to the fallen soldiers of the former British Indian Army who died in the First World War and in the Third Anglo-Afghan War. India Gate is really crowded, and with these hot temperatures, it is still nice to walk around here, but most visitors gather in the shade on the backside of the monument. By the way, as European or American tourists, you should be prepared to be asked for photos with locals quite often. During our entire time at India Gate, we must have taken at least 30 photos with different people, and this happened to us at all the other sites too. It usually starts like this. To be fair, almost everyone asked very politely, and the range was really from very young to very old. Apparently, the reason behind this is that many Indians from villages who are visiting New Delhi as tourists themselves don't often see Europeans or Americans. So for them, it is something quite special, and they kind of collect photos with foreign tourists. Near India Gate, there is also a large statue of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose under the old canopy. This is politically and symbolically interesting because a statue of King George V used to stand there. Now, it's time for our next destination. And by the way, as you can see here, people often try to film you very secretly. A really weird situation we found ourselves in several times. If you walk back along Kartavya Path, you are actually heading straight towards Rashtrapati Bhavan, the presidential palace. In these hot temperatures, it can even happen that monkeys are also looking for a way to cool down and swim right past you. The next location was also a place you probably wouldn't expect in New Delhi, especially if you only know India from the most common stories on social media. So let's check out the Lodi Garden. Depending on the month you visit, the garden is open from 5 or 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. They really care about this place, so you should check the list of prohibited items. Lodi Garden is a large city park in South Delhi. What makes it so interesting is that you are not just walking through a normal park. You find yourself standing in front of 500 to 600-year-old tombs right in the middle of a green lawn, and that contrast is exactly what makes this place so special. Besides the old tombs, you can also spot many different kinds of birds here. The old tombs and the Badagumbad Mosque complex are definitely the highlights. Lodi Garden shows you a period of Delhi's history that many tourists tend to skip. The time before the great Mughal classics, like Humayun's tomb, the Red Fort, or the Taj Mahal. Before Delhi was shaped by the Mughals, the Sayyid and Lodi dynasties ruled here. And right in the middle of this peaceful park, traces of their history are still visible today. Sikandar Lodi was an important ruler of the Lodi dynasty. His tomb is especially significant because it can be seen as a kind of predecessor to the later Mughal garden tombs. So basically, not quite the Taj Mahal yet, but architecturally already heading in that direction. So what are the most important information for visitors? The entry is free, and the best time to visit is either early in the morning or later in the afternoon. For a normal visit, 45 to 90 minutes are enough. Lodi Garden is not an absolute must-see, but it is wonderful if you just want a bit of peace and quiet for a while. After this visit, we went back to our hotel and had something to eat there, but the night was short because soon after, we had to head straight back to the airport for our flight to Sri Lanka. The airport is incredibly comfortable and very well organized for foreign tourists. There is even a separate security check for foreigners. It was easy and fast, even though I had to completely unpack my backpack, and there was even a ticket check before you were allowed to enter the airport at all. For me, one of the best airports I have seen so far. Now we are flying to Sri Lanka, and if you don't want to miss this, make sure to subscribe.